From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the news blast for this hour. Most European countries, including the two most powerful, France and Germany, have signed a letter asking the EU's executive arm, the European Commission, to crack down on Hungary after the Central European nation banned Pride celebrations. We are highly alarmed by these developments, the letter states, calling on the EC to expeditiously make full use of the rule of law toolbox at its disposal to get Hungary to roll back its Pride ban. In April, Hungary's parliament passed the Assembly Act, which bans events that involve a depiction or promotion of homosexuality if minors might see it. The law stipulates a fine of around $550 for attending such an event and allows law enforcement officials to use facial recognition technology to track down people who attend. The law was introduced on Monday and passed on Tuesday in an expedited process. The law is an extension of Hungary's 2021 child protection law that bans depictions of homosexuality to people under the age of 18. This includes mentioning LGBTQ+ people at schools and depictions in the media of gender deviating from sex at birth. Queer Hungarians responded by protesting the new law, and the EU condemned Hungary for violating LGBTQ+ people's right to gather peacefully. But now some European countries, including Austria, Belgium, Czechia, Denmark, Estonia, France, Finland, Germany, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Slovenia, and Sweden, want the EC to take more concrete measures to get Hungary to repeal the ban, even though the letter doesn't say exactly what it wants the EC to do. One measure, according to Politico, could be what is called an interim measure, which is like an injunction that prevents the Pride ban from being enforced. The measure would need to be implemented soon, as Pride organizers in Budapest plan to hold the celebration on June 28th. The EC is already withholding 18 billion euros, approximately $20.4 billion, in EU funds over rule of law violations as the country's authoritarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban increases his personal power over civil society, including his government's crackdown on blacklisted non-governmental organizations receiving funding. Rule of law is a fundamental part of EU membership, European Commissioner Michael McGrath said after a visit to Budapest. It's not an optional extra, and it must be respected by all member states, and the situation in Hungary is just not acceptable. However, the fact that the EC is already withholding funds from Hungary could make it harder for the EC to take further action on the Pride ban. European Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid and Crisis Management, Haja Labib, reportedly rejected a call to push for an interim measure against Hungary, citing a lack of support from the rest of the EC. Another measure that the EU is reportedly considering is the nuclear option of removing Hungary's voting power in the European Council, which it is also considering due to Hungary's consistent votes against sending aid to Ukraine. 4/5 of EU countries would have to vote that Hungary violated the EU treaty, and then all countries besides Hungary would have to vote to remove Hungary's voting rights. That's the news blast for this hour. Download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. If you are watching this video on the PEP Radio YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe before you leave. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.